Ladies and gentlemen, today an ex-Treyarch worker explains why Black Ops 7 failed as a game. And I think this is a very important video because Treyarch really kind of dropped the ball on this. So hearing this from an ex-Treyarch worker really will make
Black Ops 7
a
is
lot of
out and
sense.
it's
Let's get
being
it.
mocked and memed online, especially the campaign. I've worked
For
at
sure.
Treyarch in the past as an administrative assistant for 3 years. I'm going to share my perspective as to what I believe went wrong with Black Ops 7
Let's get
through
it, man.
my experience working at Treyarch. So my name is Mustafa. I am the solo game developer of Suburb Path. As mentioned, in the past, I worked at Treyarch during the development of Black Ops 4 doing administrative
I've been there too, man. He's holding the BRM from BO3 right there, bro.
assistant work. I also have experience doing QA work for another company as well as doing solo game development on my own. First, I want
Let's
to make it
go.
clear, I have not played Black Ops 7. I don't really plan on playing Black Ops 7, and this is not supposed to be a review of Black
For
Ops
sure.
7.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk online with this game, video clips being memed and shared online.
This
And
clip
the
was
two main
wild, bro.
focuses as to what's drawing negative attention
What were they thinking, bro? What is going on here?
are the campaign as well as the AI generated
bro.
work that's used within the game. From my observation, it appears that the zombies mode as well as the multiplayer mode do bring the quality that people expect out of the Call of Duty franchise.
I definitely agree. I don't know, I can't comment on multiplayer, but definitely for zombies, I can agree. I would definitely say that BO7, in terms of the content that they have in the game, is much more replayable than BO6 for sure.
This is because these portions of the game have been developed in-house by Treyarch.
Okay,
For those who are
that
unaware,
makes sense.
Treyarch has been collaborating with Raven Software for the past few Black Ops games. By the time I left Treyarch, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was already in development. Raven Software was
Interesting.
collaborating with Treyarch to work on.
So he left at the perfect time, man. He left right before BO4 ended, which was like right before Modern COD Zombies, which is kind of around when Blundell left, actually, when you think about it.
Campaign mode of that game, while Treyarch works on the other modes of the game.
Right.
In AAA development, splitting the project up into chunks and having different groups of people work on different parts of the game is not uncommon. Even before collaborating with Raven Software, Treyarch had their own studio split up into different teams, such
Right.
as one team working on the multiplayer mode, another team working on the campaign and the zombies maps. There are difficulties when it comes to having cross-team communication when the teams aren't within the same location.
I mean, for sure. This is why Cold War was such a divided game, especially because of the pandemic. I definitely agree on that.
So a lot of the issues with the cross-team communication can be worked on by having all the meetings take place within Zoom or online. Raven Software actually has a very strong reputation when it comes to a single-player campaign. For example, they worked on the game Singularity. While that game didn't sell well, it did review very well. They worked on the campaign for Call of Duty Cold War, which got praised for its very strong narrative and single-player campaign.
For
Same
sure.
for Black Ops 6, which many people said that was one of the best single-player campaigns in Call of Duty in years. But it starts to not make sense when we look at Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which is being mocked for its single-player campaign. People are mocking it for its messy narrative, bringing back characters that have been dead in the series, as well as using fear hallucinations as a storytelling crutch.
It's because they just can't do a Black Ops 2 sequel. This idea of trying to do a sequel to one of the greatest COD games of all time should have just been left in the dust. At this point, they should just remaster Black Ops 2, if anything.
Many of the negative reviews talk about boring gameplay, fighting off waves of enemies that don't do anything interesting, a mission in which you're randomly teamed up with zombies and you're pushing a payload cart. And for whatever reason, the game is always online and has no checkpoints throughout the levels. If you die, you have to start all over from the beginning of the level. So how did this happen? How did Raven Software go from making great campaigns and then they make this? I do not have inside information of what happened during the development of Black Ops 7. This is all speculation going off of what my experience was like working at Treyarch. Microsoft acquired Activision back in October 2023. After that, there have been layoffs constantly throughout Activision and Blizzard. Microsoft laid off over 9,000 people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of this probably even was AI generated at a certain point, because it's not that the Treyarch developers want to do AI incorporation. They are basically forced to do it. And so that's why I think for sure 9,000 employees, like, you definitely can see a drop in quality, like he's saying, especially between Cold War and BO6, having fairly good campaigns. Obviously not incredible comparatively to like BO1 and 2, but still, like, this is just definitely a massive difference, especially with BO7 being like the worst campaign ever, potentially next to like BO4.
Included employees from Raven Software. Also, keep in mind, Microsoft does not have a strong reputation of acquiring a studio and then doing well with it
Of
afterwards.
course,
In
yeah.
almost every case, when Microsoft acquires a studio, the games end up becoming worse.
Yeah, and this is unfortunately the truth. I mean, you look at Minecraft. Minecraft's a great example. You look at Call of Duty now. Call of Duty is also now another great example. Microsoft is kind of just destroying everything they touch, and it's getting really sad because, I mean, Call of Duty was the biggest IP they just recently got, and you can see that they're destroying it already.
To me, it's a clear sign that Microsoft has bad management.
For
Going off of
sure.
that, I also imagine there are people who might have left Raven Software after not agreeing with the new management. Regardless, Black Ops 7 is the first campaign that Raven is working on entirely under Microsoft's post restructuring management.
And that's the other thing. Like, you can't really blame the developers, because once the management switches, you can only do so much, because the management basically dictates how the entirety of the campaign is directed, the flow, the gameplay. So, I mean, I don't really blame the man. It's just really sad that this is what Treyarch has become.
Seems to be a speculation online that people like to spread that a lot of these studios just hire a bunch of junior developers, and that's why
Right.
these games don't do well. For example, I was watching a clip from the Side Scrollers podcast, and this is what Vera Dark had to say.
They don't have teams of passionate, innovative people anymore because they're firing the veterans in order to hire juniors because it's cheaper. And really,
I do kind of agree with what she's saying, though, in a lot of regards. I mean, there's a lot of proof to what she's saying as well, with like people like David Vonderhaar leaving, Jason Blundell leaving. Like, a lot of these guys were the bread and butter to what created the DNA of the iconic Black Ops franchise series. So I don't blame the junior developers. What it really is that they don't really have the guidance, and they don't have someone stepping up for them in terms of putting their creative passion first, as opposed to just creating a product for a monetary incentive.
these people don't know what made Call of Duty special. They don't know how to
Right.
make a good video game.
This is speculation that does not match my experience at all. From my
Interesting.
experience, Treyarch does not like hiring junior positions. The only time I saw junior positions get filled is after the internship program was over. Once interns complete the internship program and go through the mentorship process, then usually the best performers get offered a job as a junior developer. Treyarch not hiring junior developers is actually the reason why I ended up leaving Treyarch. I was making
Interesting.
an attempt to get hired on as a level designer and then never got hired because they just never had an opening for a junior developer. Even after learning how to use their in-house tool set and talking to the lead level designer at that time, I still wasn't able to get in because they just simply don't hire junior developers. What I did
Right,
notice was that people would leave for a number of reasons. For example, I've seen developers who got fired. Some developers would leave due to disagreements with management. Some developers would just leave due to burnout of the series. And I've seen a lot of developers leave because they got poached by competitors. Specifically,
Yeah, this is interesting because it reminds me of the BO4 game developer that was so prominent in towards the creation of BO4 Zombies, and then he got fired, and then he obviously leaked a bunch of the side Easter eggs that was in Black Ops 4. And it's just tough because a lot of the times these developers have so many good intentions, but because they don't meet the intentions that Activision has, they get laid off. And it's so sad because these are the people that actually care about the game mode the most. rather than Activision that are just throwing all these people under the bus, you know?
I've seen many developers get poached by Riot Games because they're
Right.
located very close to Treyarch. And what did Treyarch do when they lost developers? They
And that's the other thing. Like they get put on like what, a game like Valorant, and then they just make a bunch of weapon bundles, just like how they were doing on Black Ops. And yeah, it's sad. A lot of the great talent, I feel like, definitely gets poached, like he's saying.
hired more developers with experience in AAA games, but it doesn't exactly mean that they hired people with experience in games similar to Call of Duty. I've
Right.
talked to many of the developers at Treyarch while I worked there, and a lot of them worked on completely different games. The point being, they are hiring people that understand AAA workflow, but not necessarily hiring people who have experience working on games exactly like Call of Duty. And this could be the same case with Raven Software. After Microsoft laid off people from their staff, that leads to a hit towards their team synergy. So whether they continued without replacing those people or they replaced them with brand new people, it results to them having a completely new team dynamic due to the fact that their team is now different. And this is a huge factor as to why the outcome of Raven's work is so different now compared to what it was in their previous projects. And let's talk about this AI.
Yeah, it goes to show like how management is such a big deal. And then obviously the AI art. It's like, dude, who do you really blame for this? Do you blame the developers or do you blame the management? I mean, it's got to go back down to management. I mean, look at this, bro. This is just horrific.
AI artwork real quick. Black Ops 7 now includes AI artwork used in the calling cards as well as in the achievement trackers. A lot of these images use this Studio Ghibli knockoff art style. This not only is not cohesive with the rest of the game, but also looks lazy and gives a low quality feel. This
Right.
isn't even about the studios not wanting to hire somebody to do artwork because they already have artists working there. When I was
Exactly.
at Treyarch,
To me, this is just full on the Activision, well, not Activision now, I guess, the Microsoft management forcing AI because AI is now advancing, the industry is pushing towards it. And I always say to people, this is the beginning of the AI inclusion into video games. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you can already see that the backlash is this bad, can you imagine once it's like fully integrated inside of game development, it is going to be catastrophic for the gaming community. And they're going to get away with it because one day it won't be noticeable. And that's how people are just going to get suckered into this idea, you know?
there were lots
really
of
sad.
artists working there.
Yeah.
You don't even need a commission artist because they literally have artists
Exactly.
that come into work every day. But
Right.
why would they want to use AI artwork? Let me explain why. When you have something in the UI, for example, an achievement tracker, you have one person who's in charge of writing the text for that achievement tracker. For this
Right.
example, we'll just say that this specific achievement is get 30 headshots. So in a normal situation, the person who writes that text, get 30 headshots, will have to communicate with the artist and set up meetings and say, I need artwork that goes with this achievement that's get 30 headshots. The artist will work on the image and send it to the person who writes the text. This requires communication and going back and forth and maybe some iterations. What I can see happen is that Microsoft wants their studios to utilize Copilot within the workflow.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not up to the developers. I think the developers are probably the saddest of this decision because they know that they're capable of more than what the AI art can offer, but they're getting forced to by management. There's nothing you can really do at that point.
It's very likely that they wanted to make it a mandate. And
Yep.
some producer at Microsoft came to the person who's writing the text and says, okay, you need to use Copilot to generate these images so you don't have to talk to this person anymore.
That's
Rather
really
than
sad.
having a back and forth between the person
Yeah.
who writes the text and the person who does the art, now it's just one person doing everything on their own. You end up losing quality for efficiency.
Yeah, it's really sad because, like I said, I mean, Black Ops 6 was the first game that introduced AI into Call of Duty. Black Ops 7 is now furthering it so much more. I can't even imagine what's going to be the agenda in 5 years. It's just going to be really bad.
Not saying that this is a good thing. I'm just saying that this
No,
is a
definitely
likely
isn't.
explanation as to what happened
I
and
think
why
he's right.
these ended up in the game. From
Yeah.
my experience, these are signs of bad management ruining these studios.
100%.
Mass layoffs end up disrupting talent. When you remove people at mass, it affects everybody. The new team needs to learn how to get by with the new structure and the new team dynamic. There's a large chance that they lost key players, people who know certain things, and it alters the team synergy. The potential of Microsoft putting in a mandate to use Copilot and AI clearly shifts the priority from being creative to being efficient.
Yeah.
Seeing these large AAA studios struggle due to mismanagement, especially after a huge company such as Microsoft acquiring them, is not a good sign for the overall health of the AAA game industry.
Well said. And it's also not great for the overall health of Call of Duty as an IP as a whole, because no other gaming IP, as far as I can see, is integrating AI as harshly as Call of Duty. Sure, Fortnite had like the Darth Vader AI. Sure, there's other games that have AI, but Call of Duty is really pushing the negative side effects of AI farther than I would say any other mainstream game that's around today. And I feel like I said, in 5 to 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised if we get another 10,000 layoffs, because eventually one day they're going to be able to make a game without any human involvement. It's only a matter of time. And you know that management will love that, because they're able to save so much more money while creating so much money, right? And this is such a downside with gaming, because there's really nothing stopping these guys from doing it.
I don't see this as a game industry crash, but
Right.
I do see this as an overall restructuring of what the game industry is going to be like in the next 10 years.
For sure. That's well said, because in the next 10 years, we will see more people that benefit off of full human creative direction rather than artificial intelligence.
Large publishers such as Microsoft, Sony, Ubisoft, they're all getting too big to handle everyone that's underneath
Exactly.
them. Anyways, let me know what you think about the situation. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Great video. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to check out Saber Path. I subbed and liked. This is a great video, considering that Treyarch is kind of in trouble right now if they don't manage to set things up properly.